All right, let's dive into something that might just flip a switch in your brain. We're going to challenge one of the biggest ideas in science, the whole concept of scientific laws. What if I told you the universe isn't following a rule book at all? What if nature doesn't have laws but something different? So let's just start with this question right here. Is the universe actually run by laws? I mean, it sounds simple, right? But stick with me, because the implications of this are absolutely huge. Are we living in a reality that's governed by some pre-written cosmic code, or is something else entirely going on? I mean, think back to school. It's drilled into us from day one. Gravity, thermodynamics, the laws of motion. We're taught that these are the powerful, unchangeable rules of the game. They seem to dictate everything, from, an apple falling from a tree to the way the planets dance in space. They feel so solid, so permanent, like the ultimate rulebook for reality itself. But here's the twist. What if we've got the whole thing completely backwards? What if we're making a fundamental mistake by confusing our description of reality with reality itself? And this right here brings us to a really crucial idea, the difference between a law and a property. Okay, let's break this down, because this is the core of it. On one hand, you have a scientific law. That's a human invention. It's our best shot at explaining and predicting what nature's going to do. But then you have a natural property. That's not a description, it's just a built-in inherent part of what reality is. See the difference? Our laws can be imperfect, they can even be flat out wrong. But a property just is. It doesn't care what we think. And this quote just nails it. The reason nature has no laws but just properties is that laws are man-made. The laws we're always talking about aren't some external rules that nature has to follow. Nope. They are tools we created to try and make sense of the universe's own built-in properties. The key thing to remember is they come from us, not from the universe. Okay, I get it. This might feel a little abstract, a little out there. So let's bring it right back down to earth with a fantastic analogy that shows you exactly what happens when our man-made descriptions don't quite line up with the real world. So picture this. You've got a brilliant physicist who comes up with a new formula, a scientific law that describes how materials hold up under stress. Then an engineer takes that amazing formula and designs a massive skyscraper with it. But, and here's the kicker, the formula is just a tiny, tiny bit off. One of the constants is miscalculated by just a fraction, and the result? The building, this huge structure based entirely on our imperfect human law, it collapses. So the skyscraper is just a pile of rubble. It's a total disaster, a catastrophic failure, all because our understanding was flawed. But that brings us to the most important question of all. Did reality itself break? And here's the punchline. Of course not. No way. Reality didn't collapse. Our building collapsed. Our idea collapsed. Reality just kept on doing what it does, behaving according to its own unwavering, inherent properties, completely indifferent to our bad math. So what does this all mean for the big picture? I mean, this shift in thinking is huge. If the universe isn't actually following a rulebook, then what is it doing? Well, it's just being. We often have this image of the universe as this incredibly delicate machine, right? Like a cosmic ballet, where if one tiny thing goes wrong, the whole system just falls apart. But this perspective says that's not it at all. There isn't some fragile balance that needs to be perfectly maintained by laws. The properties of matter and energy are just what they are, and all the behavior we see is just the direct, unavoidable result of those properties. So, let's wrap this up. Here's the key takeaway. Think of scientific laws as our best attempt at drawing a map. They're incredibly useful, but they are not the territory itself. Nature operates on its own inherent properties, not our rules. And while our maps can have mistakes that lead to, collapsing buildings, the territory, reality itself, remains constant. It's unbothered. It just is. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If the so-called laws of physics are really just our current best description of things, it kind of forces you to ask a much bigger question. What other fundamental ideas are just our interpretation, our story, and not the real thing? What else are we only seeing a tiny piece of?